Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Culture and life we live in. Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Culture and life we live in. Detroit, Detroit is different.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio, I have a returning guest that has been on many a times. And actually one of the very first listeners to Detroit is Different. One of the fans of podcasting in Detroit back when, like, I don't know, it was like maybe like me and maybe 4 other people that was doing podcasts. And I think maybe like you had like me and like a half. It was like 1.5 Black people in Detroit doing podcasts. And he's actually entered the space and done something that's really cool. As I always say, it's like if you get the interview from Detroit is Different and you couple it with the interview from Authentically Detroit, you are getting like a full scope of where a person is coming from. Orlando Bailey, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Good, man.
I am a podhead, for real. I've always been.
Yeah, exactly, man. You was actually one of the people. It was like, yo, you do that? It was like, yeah, man, definitely.
Yes, I love it. I love the space.
Yes,
it's become very saturated. Everybody got one now. I think we need to be a little bit more selective on who we allow to have a microphone. But you know,
hilarious. It is. It's one of those things where it's like it's kind of like music. It's up and down. So like. It's, you know, when I, back in the day, when I needed to get access to a recording studio, it was harder to get access back in the day. And right now, basically, you can just grab your phone and create a whole album. So like, in some ways, it's great. But then in other ways, like everything in life, it's the balance of it, you know, and some of the discussions, and it's good that I'm finding like a lot of these bots, especially in the relationship space, Black men versus women are being explored and discovered to be that a lot of this content is not even content that's coming from people. It's coming from influencers that are paid and a lot of artificially intelligent influence, you know? You know, so like some of the batteries in the backs from people that they're getting from these discussions, you know, it's
But you are tried and true, my brother.
Thank you.
So I'm delighted to be back, man.
Always, man.
Happy to be here.
Always. And then I saw you you received an award from an organization that's definitely near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
When I saw you on it, I was like, I'm buying tickets. And I've been buying tickets like even beforehand and stuff. So that means that it's organizations out here. And if you can help them, if you can connect to them, Eastside Community Network is definitely one of them. For sure on the East Side, always in community, definitely near and dear to Orlando's heart. But, you know, it's always good to try to end up in those spaces. But if you can give and connect to that organization, make sure you do that. And you got an award, my brother.
I got an award. You know, I thank you for that brief commercial for Eastside Community Network. I don't think they can receive enough support.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talk about an organization that has walked alongside you your entire life. I was in the Youth on the Edge of Greatness program, which is ECN's longest running program. It's no longer a program. And I enrolled at, I think I was 10 or 11. And since then, that organization has walked right beside me all the way up through junior high to high school to Eastern Michigan. And when I came home from Eastern Michigan and needed a job, as Detroit was headed into bankruptcy and nobody was hiring, job prospects were nil, Maggie DeSantis, who I had known since I was a young kid, gave me my first job. Not as a journalist, but as the program manager for the program that I enrolled in, Youth on the Edge of Greatness. And that snowballed into many other things. And so I've been involved with ECN since I was 11 years old, and I have no official affiliation with them anymore. I'm not on the board. I am no longer employed there. I left ECN in 2020. I do chair one committee for them.
Okay.
Their capital campaign committee. I chair that because they won't let me get all the way away.
There you go.
But no, they need the support because they do what orgs should be doing. Right? They're doing life with the people that they serve. And I'm a testament to that, bro. I'm a testament to that.
Yeah, and Maggie DeSantis gave that award to you. She spoke about that story from her own perspective and angle, and it's like he
for
came
10
up-
minutes.
Yeah,
She was like, yo, this ain't gonna be no 3-minute intro.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh man, what
Yep.
we got going here?
Yep. And she was like, he was like, I need to get a job. And she was like,
Yeah.
we gonna make this happen. So yeah.
Sally Mae was calling. They don't know nothing
Mhm.
about Sally Mae no
There
more.
you go.
But Sally Mae was like, hey,
Yeah.
it's time.
Got to pay for this. So that connection, staying rooted in that community,
Yeah.
always interacting with it. And then even under the leadership of Donna, it's taken on like other scopes into a lot of the environmental justice, what it's doing in health. The organization is moving with community and moving with a lot of the people that are in leadership there at ECN. It's been great to like make those connections further as I meet more and more people throughout the city of Detroit. That's one of those places for sure that connect with the East Side.
I think you said something that's key about the organization, and it's nothing but a testament to the leadership of Donna Davidson.
Mm-hmm.
In the space of the organization is moving with community, and Donna has a way and a keen sense of staying in community enough to know what the current condition is, and then
Yeah.
positioning her organization to solve for whatever that condition is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it had to expand because the conditions are dynamic. And so the organization had to be just as dynamic. I had the opportunity to have her as my CEO for 3, maybe 4 years before I left in 2020. And so, man, yeah, 2 titans on the East Side, man. Donna Davidson and Maggie DeSantis.
Mm-hmm.
And that Truth to Power Award was well earned because not only, did I learn how to speak up for my community, I had to learn to speak up to them.
Hilarious.
I had to learn how to push back on Maggie DeSantis. and
Hilarious.
How to push back on Donna Davidson. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's possible. It's possible.
There
I'm a
you go.
testament to that.
Definitely, especially if you're standing in righteousness.
Man,
and also, obviously, the thing that he's connected to Detroit is different. He's one of those people
Yes.
every year that is a judge for the Collard Green Cook-Off.
Yes, that's one of my favorite events in the city, man. This year we had to bring it inside the gym at Samaritan Center, which was really cool. It was hot, but
it was hot as all get 'em.
We had a great time. Listen, what a good, fun black time. I mean, it was collard green juice everywhere.
It was.
It was.
It was.
I mean, if you weren't careful, you was slipping for collard green juice was everywhere, Kari. Loved it.
Yes, definitely. It was, yes, as one of the esteemed judges, I'm going to have to get robes for people like this next year coming up.
To be nice because them people will search you out. Them people cooking them collard greens. I'm like, I give you a 3 for effort.
But oftentimes the judge vote and the audience vote kind of match up. It's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like, but I'm looking for this year. We're gonna get Buddha back. Miss Keisha obviously coming back. We're gonna do like
Miss Keisha came on Authentically Detroit.
Yeah. Good episode. I had her here and everything. And just talking. Actually, we're gonna do for Christmas, her daughter came to the thank you celebration and she was like, Kari, we want to just give away food to the community. And I was like, okay. And then she was like, how do we do this and all of this? And I was like, Mama Linda. Y'all know I got my grandma street team over here at Greater Quinn.
Right.
AME.
AME, baby.
All day.
They
The
don't know
African
about
Methodists. Oh, it's a different type of feel.
Yes, it
and
is.
I was like, hey, they need a place to give some food away. I'm going to give some money. I'm going to hook this up. And in a matter of like 15 minutes, we got it cracking. So we're going to give away some dinners.
That's how dynamic you are, man. That's a testament to you, man, and your roots.
But just knowing these people. That's why it's like hooking up the people that need to get hooked up. So December 13th, and they said, this is, I'm letting y'all know. You don't necessarily have to be in need. You don't necessarily have to be a certain age. You don't necessarily have to be from a certain side of town.
Come get some food.
Just come get some food.
Yes.
It's just like straight up a plate.
Straight up. Let's go.
Yeah.
I love it. A plate? Oh, they giving out plates.
We giving away a plate.
Oh.
Yeah, you can come. I may get some music because I actually got Angela Davis doing something special for Solidarity. I may I may roll that over into something. One of my favorite vocalists here in Detroit.
I got to hear Angela at the tree lighting the other day.
Oh, man. She's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure she's going to be at the parade as she has been the last several years.
Yes.
But, I mean, in the cold, them vocals are just as crisp as they want to be.
Yeah.
I used to spy on her at Baker's every Tuesday night back.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I don't know if she's still at Baker's. She still do Baker's, but
it's been a minute. Like
with 313.
Yeah, I was gonna say her and both those vocalists is shout out to LG. It's messed up. Like you got me connected to all my
Griffin.
See.
Oh man.
You know
LG. That's my guy. Yo, I ain't heard. Where is he? He
is on tour with Casey Haley right now.
Of course he is.
And
that boy know he got the vocals, man.
No, he was he was like one of my mom's favorite vocalists.
If you love him, you should have heard his dad.
Oh man.
And we already know his mom.
Oh man.
You know his mom. Y'all remember the Oprah singing competition? Lachelle Griffin, who won the Oprah competition.
Oh, that's his OG?
That's his mama.
I never knew that.
Man, yes.
I never knew that.
Yes.
I'm usually
remember she did that search for the next big star?
Yeah.
Michelle Griffin from Detroit won the Oprah competition.
All right.
I'm dating myself. You were just telling me I look young, but now everybody gonna be like, nah, this dude.
Now, I'm telling you, because most times, I mean, he knows me more as like Kari Way Frazier, rapper Kari. So I'm like always joking with them backstage and messing with the band. But now, next time I see LG, oh man, you have no idea.
That's my brother.
You know, you have no idea how I'm gonna be messing with him next time. Now that's really gonna make me want to. I'm gonna get something connected because I was already saying like we gonna get them 313 lead vocalists together for the Collard Green Cook-Off this year.
Baker's on Tuesday, and
I
was up in there with all the aunties and uncles chilling.
Yeah, and they would do floods sometimes, and like the sets that they would give. I mean, when LG was on tour with Charlie Wilson, Uncle Charlie, it would be like times where he's like, man, Charlie would be like, man, go. But he's that.
Because he's that generous. That's so amazing. That's amazing.
But yes, so, I mean, so much of this Detroit culture, you just so connected to in so many different ways as we just, talking and yapping.
I know. Sorry, y'all.
And with it, I love it, though. I love it. And Outlier Media.
Yes.
You've been in the leadership position. I remember I saw that picture. I don't know if it was you or Yusef that posted it, but it was like you, Yusef, Kwaku, and it was like, hey, black men stepping into these roles in leadership, which is even more pressing in my mind because I just interviewed Darlene King Turner that was talking about this black leadership role, and she just gave the statistics of men in black men in leadership position. And I'm like, damn, them are some low numbers. But I saw you all stepping into the executive roles.
Yeah.
We definitely applaud it.
Thank you.
Within that applause, I already know the dynamics of so many things change. And we were just briefly talking, and the number one things that changes is the dynamics of relationships.
Absolutely. It's so funny. I think Yusuf may have reposted the photo. Yusuf wasn't actually in that photo. He was MIA that day.
Oh, okay.
But it was me, it was Kwaku, and it was Rob Lockett, who had just taken the job at Detroit Lisk. And of course, Kwaku is at the Love Building.
Okay.
And I think within a matter of weeks and months, all of us had become executive directors. Yusuf had taken on the full executive director role, not a co-ED like he is the ED, like it stops with him. And, the relationship and the expectation does change. I came to the helm at Outlier at the same time as the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy was going through its thing with the embezzlement of that over $40 million. And
wait, I'm going to put a pin in that, but continue.
And the face of that was not its CEO who had not caught it or its board or board chair. It was a black man, right? And so I felt a tremendous weight and responsibility, as a lot of us do, who move into these spaces, to be as open, to be as honest, right? And to have as many eyes on our stuff as possible to remove the perception that there may be some, illegitimate things, going on. And that's just stuff that we have to worry about that other people don't have to worry about, right? This is a man who wasn't the CEO, right? He wasn't the chief executive, but yet we know because history teaches us that this is going to reverberate back on Black leadership within the city. And so, I've been vigilant, and we have to stay vigilant. And in terms of the relationship pass off, one thing I can say about Outlier is that it started because it wanted to be steeped in community and is steeped in community. I think I've done nothing but help to expand that mission of being connected to community and talking with community. The final thing that I would say about it, just in terms of like the funding tip, because that's the other thing. That whole piece is like, okay, well, what will the funding landscape do, right? I came into power at Outlier. We may have had maybe one Detroit-based philanthropic organization supporting us. I am grateful, man, for a little bit over a year to have almost every Detroit-based philanthropic organization investing in Outlier.
Wow.
And not every one of them, but most of them. And I'm working on the other ones. And so
I love it.
Being able to shepherd and steward those relationships and maintain, our legitimacy, man, it's a privilege, but you got to stay vigilant. And I've been vigilant. I got people. Listen, the finance, I want y'all scrutinizing my stuff. Board, go through the finances. My CFO, make sure this is right. I want as many eyes on my stuff as possible.
First off, applaud that and those steps into what that is. And as I said, pinning that, I'll pull that pin out in a moment still. But that look towards Black leadership, it can definitely weigh heavy, because just a lot of the arc of these stories and what people connect to and what could be salacious and what could be looked into and what's looked at. And it can be two ways. It can be like looked at like you're intentionally like nefarious or malicious, or you're just ignorant. And in both spaces, it echoes of traits that are not lined up with the leadership that people look to and say like, oh, no, that's definitely something that's connecting. So definitely in moving into that path and what you've done with Outlier, for people that know, hell of a media organization. I would say,
not coming from you, thank you. One
of the things that Outlier really even helps in its partnerships with it, but during the Detroit budgeting process, it is a lot of information in those council meetings. Those budget hearings. First off, just council meetings themselves. So shout out to everybody that sits through them, even my guy Malachi, where we talk about it public comment and everything. Because sometimes, a council meeting may start at 10 and it may go to like 4:30, and that's like like no sandwich break.
Just up there.
So more power to that. But the budget hearings carry on for days, possibly, and what is connected. And this is really the guts of what our legislator, our city council is moving forward with, but also that relationship between the executive branch or the mayor's office and our city council really connecting. And when you really look at like the decisions that can be made in budget, which usually it's not like as drastic as saying like, okay, now this year, half the budget is going to go to helping young kids in schools. A lot is already spoken for is what is said, but it's still like the nuance of some of the things that are spoken for. And Outlier is one of the outlets that you can get that information. And now I can have something to speak to without having to sit through 7 hours of watching budget hearings.
40 hearings. Over 40 hearings. And our civic life reporter sits through all of them. Malachi sits through all of them. And so I think this is a good opportunity to emphasize the importance and how crucial local independent media is to our information ecosystem.
Yeah.
Because nobody else is doing that. No one else is doing that. And if you want to know what the city or what the executive branch and what the legislative branch prioritizes, follow where they spending money. It really, you know what I'm saying? It really is as simple as a moral document. It's a budget. If you want to know what's important to them, follow the money. And we try to create a route so folks can do that in a relatively easy way. Isn't it easy to navigate?
Very, very easy to navigate, and heavy on my mind is something that's been spoke about since Yeah, I'm older than Orlando, but even people older than me, it's the lack of access to public transportation.
Yeah.
And the relationship between that. So then it's like you hear what's said by a lot of people in office, then you look at the money there, and you see that the money is not matching which we would think the urgency in which it spoke, which is one of the reasons why, and she's going to be soon a guest here. And I mean, she's really a superstar, but Tiffany Gunter at Smart is amazing. And it's good to see that she's already on Mary Sheffield's transition team, because now I would assume that the relationship between Smart and DDOT will connect a whole lot more, which will open up opportunities. The fast lane buses are great, but it'll open up so many more opportunities to really have Detroiters and Metro Detroiters to have access throughout this region.
And, I'm glad you brought up public transportation, specifically on the DDOT piece, because, in this year's budget negotiation, the city council wanted to throw even more money to, first off, they increased the DDOT budget, and they wanted to increase it by even more than what they increased it by.
Yeah.
And the DDOT director was like, hold on. We don't have the capacity to spend all of this money. Like, they were turning down money. And that's also a statement in and of itself
about capacity,
about where we are, and about, the length of time that it has taken for us to get a real investment in the Department of Transportation. So shout out to everybody who was on the front lines of that. Transportation United, and my man at every sitting city council meeting. Cunningham, man, and the people from, I guess, the People's Platform, they have their transit. Yeah,
they have their transit justice folks, and it's definitely been a movement. Yeah. And that's going to be very key, as we've known. Like, it's a couple elephants in the room in Detroit, but that's definitely probably one of the largest elephants in the room that's existed here for a long time. But having the information and data that you can pull, Outlier is one of those spaces where you can pull it and you can get back from year to year to year to year and kind of know what we're navigating with, and you can just easily grab it and know how to run with it. So,
thanks, Kyrie, I appreciate that. And I want to just honorable mention of Bridge Detroit, because we do partner with Bridge Detroit, and both sites publish.
Yeah, and y'all know the relationship Detroit and Bridge with Detroit Next, and what I do with public comment, and just supportive of like so many other things. Actually, we did this, it's like an internal thing, but you was at Bridge before. We did like the 5-year story of Bridge, where we shot some of those like testimonials. I don't even know what that was like delivered all the way into and everything, but we shot a lot of that. It's definitely been a relationship between Detroit is Different and Bridge. Even going back to when we did the Tell Us Detroit forums years back, during
21 or 22, something like that.
With the ARPA funding money.
With ARPA funding, from the Knight Foundation. Thank you, Nate Wallace. He was at Knight back then. Yeah.
Hey, so in the same scope, and like looking at really navigating, as I say, like I spoke about some of those relationships internally, but like externally, what has it been like moving into this position, and like family, friends, and others, just having them get a better understanding of the capacity? Because I've even seen you in rooms, you're like, hey, I lead this organization, but at the same time, I'm not in the journalism. You know what I'm saying? So what has it been like for people to have an understanding of like, okay, because sometimes, in our community, I can't think of another way to say it, but sometimes people see like titles and think HNIC is somewhere, and like you can do whatever you want to do, but it's never really like.
No, I mean, we gotta respect the firewall within the organization. So first off, I just want to say that up until I moved into media, everybody in my family and externally could never tell anyone else what it was that I was doing for a living. They're
hilarious.
Like, he in the community. Like,
there you go.
That's what they say.
I'm with it.
Real in the community. He does stuff with the city. Like, he a councilman. I'm like, I'm not a councilman. You got to be elected to do that. But they could never really figure out what it was that I was doing. And so in 2020, when I became employee number 1 at Bridge Detroit, I was able to, my family was now able to say, he's a journalist. That's what he is. He's a journalist.
There you go.
And so that's what I am. I'm a journalist at heart. But, for Outlier has a firewall, and we need this firewall between the business side and the editorial side. And so, yes, I am the executive director, but I respect the infrastructure of the organization. It is a conflict of interest for me to run the business aspect of Outlier, raise all of the money, and be directly involved in influencing the journalism that we produce, right? And so I am not on that side. We have an editor-in-chief who does that stuff, right? Who works with the reporters and all of the staff to curate what our journalistic output will look like. I am on the other side, ensuring that the organization and its infrastructure is financed, right? Is sustainable, that we have policies and processes that take care of all of our employees and people.
Mhm.
We really do believe in taking care and investing in our people. We have a crazy PTO bank. I mean, you get so many days off. We had to sort of cap it because at one point we had unlimited sick days, right? If you work at Outlier for 3 years, you get a month sabbatical, right? That's the program. We have amazing non-monetary benefits where Outlier is matching 401ks and covering all of the medical insurance. We really take this seriously in the space of taking care of our people, right? We want to make sure that people are paid well and that they feel cared for by the organization.
And I have to point this out, especially at this time right now, where journalism stands.
Yeah.
And this is across the board. So this is journalism at, whether that be cable news, whether that be local news, whether that be local newspaper, definitely talk radio, across the board, just due to the way content creation has entered into this space. And really, journalists now is shout out to Khan. Y'all know Khan is my guy. But journalists are kind of in that same position where I think a lot of music artists were maybe around in the 2000s, where it's it used to be okay, you almost have to brand. A lot of journalists feel like I have to brand myself and push myself to even end up into this space, which I don't know how I feel about that sometimes.
I mean, so we can talk about the antiquated business model, traditional business model of journalism, depending on ad revenue and how that has helped to erode the field and its sustainability.
Mhm.
We can talk about corporate conglomerates buying up local media and cutting a lot of hyper-local programming. We could talk about papers of record being bought by billionaires, and these billionaires sort of squashing, the editorial ability of these papers to say what it wants to say and what it needs to say.
Mhm.
We could talk about the intentional advent of artificial intelligence killing Google search, which is where you would find a lot of our articles and information. And so now when you type in a question or something in Google search, instead of seeing Outlier at the very top and answering your question, you get a summary from an AI bot that's reading all of our stuff and summarizing it and not giving us any credit. We could talk about the moving away of algorithms on social media from news and information sites, right? And centering creators. And so what do we got to do? We got to evolve, bro. We have to evolve with the times. And so I know a lot of, especially print journalists, got into print journalism because they didn't want to be out front. Well, in a city like Detroit, and this is one of the things that I had to say to Bridge Detroit, in the very beginning, people need to see your face. People got to know who you are. People need to see you. You have to be able to build a relationship with folks. And I think it's the same thing online. Right now, it's a tall order for being a journalist because you not only got to be the reporter, the journalist, you got to be the content creator, you got to be the social media expert, you have to be the podcaster in order for your information to just break to sort of break through, we have been piloting at Outlier partnerships with influencers. So shout out to Randy Rosario, who's been a partner of ours.
Cool.
Shout out to Russell and Kobe Harris. Russell is a friend of mine.
I've been seeing some of the stuff with Russell.
Yeah, who's been a partner to Outlier, and our digital engagement editor, Samaya Overall, who ensures that we have a presence. She does an amazing job.
Very, very creative. I remember early on when you're at Outlier before this position, one of the first things I remember we sat down and said, I was like, got to get more video in the mix.
I know.
And I was like,
you told me, you said, y'all Instagram grid is very still, Orlando. It's very, what did you say? Oh my God. It's very, no video. It was just very still.
And I was like, and it's not gonna, and oftentimes, this is, I mean, even in my space, and Lord knows I'm dealing with all type of hell with this damn Facebook hack, but I dealt with the YouTube hack earlier this year. So shit happens sometimes. But in it, the barriers of entry, I think oftentimes we can overthink like how professional should it be. We got to have a starting place. Like you'll have a starting space. You get out the blocks, you start running. I mean, when you talk about Randy, shit, what Oso Radio was,
Oso
Radio, then keeping it moving to what the content that she's created now, and moving on past, what's that, the tonight's conversation and things like that, and just Brandon, like we have a starting point. And you run it, and then you get in this space, and there's opportunities that can become abundant. You learn these skill sets. I don't think that you need to say to yourself that I need a production that is comparable to, Caller Daddy or Joe Rogan or Joe Button to step into the game. You don't need that. You just need to start.
Don't let this affinity for perfection be the thing that prevents you from starting or finishing. It's so funny. And you know how I learned this? I learned this through Authentically Detroit. If you go back and listen to some of those early episodes and then listen to what we do now, our audience grew up with us, and they weren't like, y'all sound janky. They weren't on that. They're like, the information is good. You guys are informed, and they grew up with us. If people rocking with you, they're gonna rock with you.
I always say this. Like my very first Malik Yakini episode, it's an amazing one. But the audio quality and everything, it's like, I think that's the other thing. Like in this world of content, sometimes bad content is good content for the people that follow you. Like especially at this point, as I think I've definitely strengthened myself in the skills of interacting with a person in my own car-y style of interviewing. But sometimes you could tell, like when I hit a wall where it's like, damn, I can't get this person to talk. So a person that listens is like, you couldn't get this person. You know what I'm saying? And it happens.
That's my favorite thing. It
happens.
As an interviewer, as a journalist, I am going to figure it out.
Yeah. So like you figuring it out, and this person giving them 2-word, 1-word answers, and then it's like, all right, let's throw something up against the wall and just see how it hits them. You know what I'm saying? You never know. But that as a person that listens,
one of my pointers that I would do sometimes, and I can't wait to hear you do it. It's gonna be fun. When people do that, I say this to them: say more.
Hilarious. It's a guy,
Kari.
It's a guy out in LA, the Go Deeper. Zoe Williams is like, go deeper. Say more. Expand on that a little bit. Sometimes I say that like, give me more. You know what I'm saying? Expand on that a little bit. That's why actually the toughest sometimes are like it's rappers that are in rap persona. That's sometimes the toughest interviews that I've ever had, even in the hip hop background. But you navigate it. You get it.
You do.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. You navigate it and you get there.
Very familiar.
And then like in these travels through this space where I think journalism stands now, and we're, really just talking now. But I also think that in the mix of things, you can make some sincere connections with people, even if the watches aren't millions and everything like that. Like sometimes those people that really connect to something that's sincere and, no pun intended, but authentic, you're really building a base and a reputation that can be trusted. And I think that you have clearly cemented that through the work that you've done with Authentically Detroit and Urban Counseling. Like it's a voice where now I feel like I'm going to get something that is of Detroit and honest, but also not just sensationalism, because it is a lot of content creation out here that, man, oh man, it's like people will come, but you don't know what you're going to get when the people come.
My goal is to get the information out there, of course, but for me as an interviewer and as someone who loves story and language, I think the way especially Black folk invoke story, it is a spiritually transcendent experience, and it always has been. And so for me, I definitely want people to get the information, but when I'm sitting across from someone, I am longing for and looking for that point in a conversation when it goes into the divine, where I know like we are just like on another sphere, like that divine piece of conversation that just is, that enriches the soul, that enriches everybody who is watching it or hearing it. So yeah, you get the information, but you leave feeling like, oh my goodness, you leave feeling different. I remember growing up, on Friday nights, everybody done with work for the week, they'll come over to grandma's house, right? And they'll have a little CC, and so, play some cards, whatever. But when Black folk gather, they tell stories and they laugh. And I remember just being a kid soaking all of this up, and it was almost as if I was there. I was alive in a time that I wasn't. The way that they invoke story, I would literally time travel to whatever period that my elders were talking about and experience it like I was there, right? And so if I got an opportunity to if I get the opportunity to sit across from anybody, yeah, I want the information, but I want us to reach that divine point in conversation. That's my goal, bro. That's my goal. And the way that I do that is I over-prepare, of course. Like, I over-prepare for every interview. I read every book. So when Kari Frazier is sitting across from me, I can go wherever he wants to go. I'm not bound to this one little speck of your life. I can move and maneuver wherever you want to go, right? And get what you want out of it and get what I want out of it while creating a spiritual space that people leave emboldened and empowered to, do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like that, for me, that's always the goal, man. It's a real thing for me.
It's interesting that you speak to that, because I was in this workshop connected to Afros and Audio. So shout out to the Afros and Audio's team in India that put this thing together the other day. And I went to the workshop. It was really just about listening and where and how to make those connections and listening to other people. And we bouncing from room to room to room. It was a virtual thing. And it was so interesting as I'm sitting here in this space where it's like, okay, I am very different from many of these social workers and many of the psychologists and psychiatrists that are in this group and in this meeting. You know what I'm saying? It was me, and shout out to Q Lewis, E-Block Radio, another one of them people holding it down. But it was interesting because it really crystallizes a lot of like kind of what you said, like, what am I doing? And a lot of my mind is just, it's associative. So like I connect to so many different things just through different stories where this comes onto this and comes onto this, comes onto this. And it's that same curiosity I had when I was like 4 or 5 about like, okay, how does this connect to this, to that, to this, to this, to this, to this, to this, to this, to this. And then it hits my mind in a certain way where it's like, I'm gonna remember that. So sometimes it's reading, sometimes it's it can be a movie, sometimes it's those stories that people have told you, especially when we think about like the fabric of the city of Detroit. So now, like even this the I-375 project, however we look at it. But now it's like I have such a experienced from all these Detroit is different interviews, and it's not just the stories of Black Bottom, but it's also the outskirt communities around what became and the stories of where people moved to and other things, where it's like, I don't even see it the same way that a lot of people, I think, even look at what this would be and how do you honor it? How do you connect? It's like, it's more so like an understanding of the people that created the culture there
Yeah.
were the fabric of what was.
Yeah.
And what is going to be completely new, no matter how much you try to honor what was, which is, I guess, in some ways, which Lord knows, because Kresge has supported me. But I was like, man, it's almost like building a statue for me getting jacked and looking at the statue of it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a tension that I think MDOT has to learn how to carry, and all of the partners that are associated with it, the Downtown Detroit Partnership, and even the neighborhood associations, the Kresge Foundation, who was convening folks. That's it. What you were speaking of is a tension that they shouldn't shy away from, that they got to lean into, and face the fact that this will be a new thing, and I think starting from there, we can have the conversations we need to have. This will be a new thing that will, and we'll do our best to honor what was, but this will be a new thing. And so I think that there may be, some really hard conversations ahead. And what I'm finding out, or what I have found out in my working community, is that folks who are shepherding capital, folks who are shepherding large projects, especially in the city of Detroit, want to facilitate around pushback and hard conversations. And it's like, no, you gotta facilitate in it. You gotta go in it. So that's, I don't envy anybody who working on that project.
Yeah, and I mean, it's heavy, and we know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I do believe that, because technically, I mean, the repair to make a person whole is to be like, we gonna give you your land back.
Absolutely.
Since that's not going to happen, now we have to deal with the reality of what can happen.
Yeah.
How can we have a cooperative of this land?
Yeah.
How can we share in what happens here and us have say? Because I think something like that could exist. But
say, who are the contract? Who's doing the excavation? Who's filling the concrete? Like, who's making money from it? The journalist in me has all of these questions, right? But I honor, the stories of Marsha Philpott, right? I honor the stories of, Reverend Franklin and, New Bethel, and Pastor Smith, who's over at New Bethel. I honor the story of my grandmother, who talked about what life was like there. And so, Yeah, and it's so many other iterations of things like this that we see, and then just how those snapshots are captured. Because I mean, even things in my lifetime that are so different. Like, I think we're gonna do something with Belle Isle, but Belle Isle is definitely one of those places that just still a hell of a gem. I want to say that's like the number one place that a lot of people speak to when I ask if you were to hang out with an alien and take them to the most Detroit place. So it's in our hearts, but the culture, it's different. It feels different under state control. So as the Conservancy works more so to welcome in more and us feel like that, what are the things that can be done? How does that connect? Where does that look like? And I do think that the team over there, oftentimes a lot of this, as you say, get in the rooms that I never was in before, and it's not as adversarial. It's sometimes a lot of the fear of, like you say, not wanting to have more so the tough conversation, not really having the resources of dealing with that or the capacity. And I recognize that some people may look at this statement and say, no, well, then you need to do it. But the difficulty of bringing this together, it's a lot of discomfort, and discomfort is not something that anybody's walking into. Yeah, it should be uncomfortable though. There should be an invocation of story, right? Because story does a lot for us, but we also have to recognize and figure out how to solve for and minister to this really palpable anxiety around cultural erasure. I think that is what a lot of people feel, right? A lot of people feel like that around Belle Isle, right? When we were growing up, the Strip, I mean, it was a thing, man. It was a thing. There are elders in our community who lived in Black Bottom whose childhood, whose memories, the physical manifestation of that has been literally raised, right? Folks are, I think at the end of the day, and this is me oversimplifying it, but I'll do it for the sake of conversation, are anxious about erasure. We're anxious about erasure. And it's part of the reason why what you do is so important. It's part of the reason why what I do is so important. Because there has to be somebody, there has to be a group of us who have an insatiable curiosity to put our stories on a record, right? To establish a repository of content that will live beyond us, right? And so talking to Marsha Music, right? And the way that she tells a story, it's the same way like my folks used to tell a story. And so folks who may come across this video 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now will also be transported to a place, right? That she talks about and come back trying to honor that and come back really with a boldness to speak to something, to speak to power, to speak against something, to speak for something.
And you brought her up again, so it's like now I got to lean into it. My recent interview that I posted with her, I appreciated it so much because she tells a lot of the story of her father.
Yeah,
and it's like this is what my associative memory. It's like a lot of the things that she spoke to of her father, like, are pieces of stories that I've heard from others, like the shout out to Dan Aldridge and other, like, so it's like the interview with Dan Aldridge, hell of a historian. He was one of the original, as he always said, it's like, I ran the East Side Center over here too. Like the whole concept of like having these neighborhood districts, it's not brand new. The idea of like having I guess like you have your like Kim Tandy, and shout out to Kim. She came to our thank you event, like having these neighborhood districts. At one point in time, under a Coleman administration, each neighborhood district had like a neighborhood city hall.
Yeah.
Dan Aldridge was one of those people on the East Side.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Fred Durrell Sr., he was one of those people too. But also teacher at Eastern, but he tells some of the story of some of the start of a lot of the stuff in music and him coming from Harlem to Detroit and his connection to it. Joe Pep of the Undisputed Truth tells the story of like him and how he would navigate. And then rest in peace, Orthea Barnes. It's like my godmother, she told some of the story of it.
Yeah.
So it's like I had bits and pieces of a lot of these things connecting to like a lot of the Motown story.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Motown story being down the street from like what was happening with what Reverend Franklin was doing, because Reverend Franklin was recording a lot of his speeches, which kind of make him like one of America's first, what would be recognized, evangelists, because you could get his sermon and then it's like they would play it on the radio and then you would sell it.
Yep.
So that gave Berry Gordy the advantage of having these people that knew a lot about the recording equipment and how to run a studio, because that's in our community. So hence, like, I was like, damn, like, this is like what pieces things together. And I know definitely, Lord knows, I mean, the personal acts of him are, especially how we see the story. But Ike Turner, at one point in time, with the talent he had around him, was at a pace faster than what Berry Gordy was doing, but he did not have access to the infrastructure to release the records like that, because he didn't have like an infrastructure of something that really Marsha's father like kind of built a gateway to find where he was at. So it's like, it's things like this that I know that just, you figure out from talking to people over years, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I met through Clay McMurray, rest in peace, Clay McMurray and Norman Whitfield. So it's like all these stories like come together.
Whitfield. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Clay McMurray, he, I guess he'd be most known for, he wrote "If I Were Your Woman" for Gladys Knight.
And everybody knows who Norman Whitfield is, right?
Yeah. So
Famous
Clay
producer.
wrote that, and Clay, one of Clay's best friends was Norman. So they were like two of the first guys to say, "Yep, we going to L.A." And they went to L.A. Motown, and that's where they did like Rolls Royce, like you know,
Ooh.
a lot of that music and stuff. So like before he passed, Norman would just like be in like his, if I showed you where his studio was, you wouldn't even think it's there on Livernois. But it's a lot of spaces like that. Even that Don Davis and the Davis brothers had studios throughout Detroit. But Norman and them would just like, they would just talk because they was cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they would tell some of the wildest stories, to the point my sister even tell you, like the stories that they told about Rick James. This is like before the Chappelle Show episode. Like when I had the preview, I was like, yo, I told my sister, because she lived upstairs from me at the time. I was like, yo, if these stories are anything like the stories that they say that Rick James was, this will be one of the best television episodes ever, which it was.
It was.
Because it was like, man, no, he didn't.
Yes,
like,
he
I
did.
would be sitting there saying, like, no. And then I guarantee you find somebody in that era that hung around Rick James when he was in Detroit, not the Rick James that had hits in Detroit, when he was he was an engineer here. And he was he went AWOL from the Army, and he was an engineer at Motown. And the stories that they say
Rich.
was like, man, no, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Crazy stories.
Yeah.
Like the craziest stories where I was like, man, no, I can't. I'm like,
He did that.
yeah.
I believe it.
And
He
you
did
know, and it's like all these like stories like start tying together
Yeah.
of these relationships, and even the people that knew each other, like even the relationship between the Dramatics and the Republic of New Africa. Like all of this stuff gets picked up through these, you know,
Story.
interviews. Yeah.
Interviews. The story. It's of the utmost importance, man.
Mhm.
It's of the utmost importance. And I think one of the things that we have to continue to do is create spaces for, and I think Tressie McMillan Cottom, it was either Tressie or Jason Reynolds, who I just interviewed last Wednesday, said this: create spaces for intergenerational exchange.
Mm.
I love sitting at the feet of an elder and just asking questions and listening. I also love an elder who is curious about what my current experience is, and who asks, you know, questions. And I think that that's what gives us, you know, the audacity, man, to do what we do, to go there, to go to rooms and occupy those rooms and own them, to say the thing that nobody else is willing to say, to go on television and say that, you know, like all of these different avenues that we are afforded. I'm bringing all of that with me,
bro. And in it, another interview where it's like, I can, you know, see, it's like, it's in my mind.
Yeah.
And associative, like I say, that's my mind. But another more recent interview, Brenda Butler, and I met her through Orlando Bailey. And I'm telling you, when I met Brenda Butler, and she told me everything I got wrong. I love Brenda, but she know a lot.
You know, she went to jail in Birmingham.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
We talked about,
As a
like,
teenager.
she just threw out like, yeah, you know, Fred Shuttlesworth was teaching. It's like, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. You know what I'm saying? And she was, you know, and then I'm applauding, like, you know, Community Advisory Council.
Yep.
And
she's
breaking
on
a
the
lot of that
CAC.
down. She
Yep.
made that. So
Yeah.
Lord knows, y'all
It's
gonna.
about to go down. Shout out to Brenda Butler.
Yeah, them CBAs over there. It's gonna be, woo.
Woo-wee.
Yeah, you gonna be giving to community. It ain't gonna be no basketballs in a trunk or treat.
Right. Ain't gonna be no performative community benefits agreement. These agreements gonna have some teeth.
But it entrenched in those relationships, like as I like the you know, that's the other thing with the collard green cook-off. Just trying to find those spaces where definitely in age, but also like cultural background, because I still stand on this is such a cliquish town. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah, and you know where I feel that the most, or I hear that the most. I hear that from folks who want to move here, who want to make Detroit their home, and trying to figure out where and how to land.
Yeah,
right. Because I'm always like, no, Detroit is up south. We're really nice, and folks are like, yeah, y'all are nice, but you know. And so how do we democratize access right? How do we democratize spaces where we have a respect for who's here and it's, the history that's there and the expertise that's there while providing access to, folks who are hungry, folks who are curious, folks who also want to do good work and honor the work that has been here. And so, yeah. I don't disagree. I had to get there though, because I'm like, nah, we're not like that.
I think like my dad from Cincinnati, and then I know a lot of other Cincinnati people through back to association. You know what I'm saying? Like Charlie Beckham and Anthony Adams and stuff. But like they always say, it's like, man, I've never been a place where they ask what high school you been to so much, and it's
we sizing you up is what we doing.
Yep. And then technically it goes a layer deep. It's like, where you get out? What's Osborne 02? Oh,
okay. Putting that in my arsenal.
You know, Kevin.
Yeah. It's so, and I hear that's a very unique thing about the city.
Oh, like very much so.
All right. Very, high school. What side of the city you from?
You're actually like, it's so many people now. It's like, I went to DSA with him. And it's like, damn, I didn't even know it. But now as people share it more.
That's right. The Detroit High School for the Fine and Performing Arts.
Yep. And you went to a Dr. Cotton.
I went to a Dr. Cotton DSA.
Which is
a Dr. Cotton who would be at the front door every morning and knew every single student by name and our parents' names.
Yep.
Okay. A Dr. Cotton who always said the first performance is in the classroom before you get on that stage. A Dr. Cotton who's under her leadership, DSA became a blue ribbon school of academic excellence as well as the Premier Arts High School. A Dr. Cotton who started a school in an old Wilbur Wright plant and turned it into a magical place and ushered us into a state-of-the-art, not ever seen before high school that sits in the Cass corridor. So yeah, shout out to Dr. Denise Davis Cotton, who still calls my phone and tells me what to do to this day.
Hilarious. Yeah. But I think like her story, and even my cousin now leading in Iowa, Dr. Reynolds, amazing
Love
too.
Dr. Reynolds.
It's a different feel, different culture, but it was so needed that she
Dr. Reynolds is a legend.
Embraces that. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think like that story is one of those Detroit stories that like, the story of how Dr. Cotton started DSA is like...
Yeah, I mean, talk about the school board at the time, talk about Dr. McGriff, who was, at the time. And then, we sort of had to claw and fight for the position that we sort of occupy now because DSA was founded in 90 or 91. And so we don't go as far back as like a Cass or Osborne. And so they sort of look at us like, a king, like, well, you ain't whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's like, nah, we here. We ain't going nowhere.
Yep. Yeah.
And I like people from Renaissance because they get that too.
Hilarious. Hilarious. Because they're relatively new. But even that's a Renaissance start story. I've gotten some of that story here in Detroit, or Flick start story.
Yeah.
Like that was like, I was like, damn, for real? You know what I'm saying? Like just I always find that Nandi Cromer, former Michigan poet laureate, that's my homie. But the Flicks, so that's like the foreign language immersion.
That's right.
Community school.
Yeah.
It was a program at a school that was in the same community as the training center for the Shrine of the Black Madonna. So a lot of the first students that go through that build Flicks to end up becoming a school are students from the Shrine. So it's like, this is not saying that like the other kids in the North End wouldn't get it the same way, but it's a different feel for those students that were living in the Shrine of the Black Madonna Training Center that create that. Hence her immersion in Spanish and like, you know what I'm saying? Like you, it's like your family grew up in the Shrine and you know Japanese. It's like, it's like,
it, man.
These be like weird Detroit stories where it's like, for real?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it is so much that like I think goes into that culture, and I'm glad that we cover it and we get ways to like flash this up and just find interesting. Like, I mean, even a lot of what you all have done, even just the journey of Authentically Detroit, moving from like the start of it, where now we definitely saw that it took a while to get here as we get to a close, but it started as a space and place where you and Donna are talking community, politics, what's needed in the city of Detroit. But now Authentically Detroit is like, if you're running for an election that connects in the city, you have to go through the Authentically Detroit. Like it's not anything else about it. I love the way that you and Jer, that's my guy too, and Daily Detroit partner with it as his platforms expanding more. I need to get by there when he does one of these dailies.
Yeah.
Real soon.
Yeah.
But like, it's seeing the way that you've opened up even the space of a lot of these political discussions, starting there and then transferring and traveling throughout. And I mean, hence that was like a ground as we built like Detroit Next, this iteration around with Bridge Detroit. But I was like, yeah, this is like way more of a, you know, you're getting the meat of a conversation, but it also, like with you and Donna, as you always say, it's like if you touch on something that we got to go down that street, we going down that street.
Going. Come ready. Come ready. Come ready for, rigor.
Yeah.
Right? And come ready for dynamicism. Because if you are seeking elective office and you're seeking to lead our city, you have to know how and always remember that you got to answer to community. And so as you are seeking that position, we gonna give you a preview of what answering to community could look like, right? And being accountable in that way. And it started as an idea, and bro, like, yo, we want to do, an election series, and it has become, a thing, a mainstay. I'm so grateful. I am, man. I'm so grateful. Like we used to have to reach out, like, oh, we want to get this person, we want to get that person. People are clamoring to come on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now it's like, okay, well, who we gonna get now? Like who? So yeah, man, it's been a blessing, and it all feeds into what I've been saying. My personal mission is to provide platforms for Black people to express their power and expertise. Inherent in that is the fact that Black people are already powerful. I'm not empowering anybody. I'm platforming your power. I'm platforming your expertise. And I think that's the blessing that most of us have, that some of us have, when we have the opportunity to shepherd platforms. It's a huge responsibility. So I always try to make sure, and Authentically Detroit is live, so I always try to make sure we're accurate.
Yeah.
And we not saying anything wrong, because we can't edit. Ain't no editing. So yeah.
That is definitely
different. That's what makes it authentic. We got to come back the next week and say, hey, we messed that up.
Here. And most times I'm gonna say, like, really the pulse, especially when it comes to a lot of the political spaces and the political interviews. I mean, I don't know if you feel this, but in your interviews, I feel like it's a lot of candidates that are really getting some, as you say, it's like they're hearing, even though you all are the conduits, voice of community through the both of you.
Yeah. And the community is getting to hear from folks who may not be able to send out a mailer, right?
Yeah.
And so we talked to every mayoral candidate. Every mayoral candidate make enough money for radio ads, television ads, didn't have a huge team where they were able to canvass the entire city.
Yeah.
But the city was still deserving of their voice and their perspective to be able to hear and still decide for themselves. And we were able to do that. And I think that's also important. Like, we weren't gonna go around folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's been this year, because this is a monumental year and a consequential year for the city, has been a lot. But I mean, looking back on it now toward the end of this year, seeing all that what we've been able to do, all that you guys have been able to do with Detroit Next, and you with Detroit is Different. I think folks are getting, whoever gets to come on, are getting a real feel for community, some rigorous questioning, some honest questioning, right? And some accountability.
Yeah.
These people need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
I know we're rooting for them. I know you got your candidate, but your candidate need to be held accountable too.
Yeah, I think,
you know what I'm saying?
and we've had, it's so funny, me, you, and Donna, it's like we agree, but we also like go back and forth sometimes on like the responsibility of, I guess the best example for this is kind of like the church. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's the church's responsibility for the community in which it sits, or for the parishioners in which are a part of the church.
Yeah.
And it's a philosophical approach that you got to take to this answer. But the reality is the philosophy ain't the real life impact that it has, because both are so related. And hence, who are you serving when you are in office? And how can you pay attention to it? Because the elasticity and the choices that as like I said, like with the budget, if you really look at like so much of the budget of like where decisions can be made, it's, so much of the budget already just goes into policing. Let's just say
it has one of the largest allocations in the entire budget.
And
right?
to go
and a huge, real quick, just to put a pin in that, a huge portion of that police budget is for settlements.
Yes.
Lawsuit settlements. Go ahead.
And that goes right from a lot of that police commission.
Yeah.
And then even like pulling some money away from that, what that's being looked at from other communities. So that's like a lot right there.
Man.
Then you look at a lot of the money that goes into a lot of the other business dealings that we can't even get access to. So like when you start really looking at a lot of things, and like the people in my community is like, hey, I'm just trying to get the program where I can get some steps and get a roof.
Because that's what I need. That's my immediate need.
That's who.
Right.
That's who's going to come up to me.
That always. And what does that process look like? You got to call 20 different numbers. You got to fill out 25,000 pieces of paperwork, and then you got to have it notarized. I mean, like why is it so hard to help people? It shouldn't, you know what I'm saying? And can we look at and audit some of these laborious and bureaucratic processes to make sure that we're helping the people that need it most?
Yeah.
That's always going to be a question of mine. That's always, I ask every single candidate, what do you think of the current community benefits ordinance? Does it go far enough? Every candidate is like, no. So I'm anxious. Every candidate was like, no. So we have Mayor-elect Mary Sheffield.
Mm-hmm.
She came out on top. I'm really interested to see how she carries that tension. She also said that it doesn't go far enough. So, there are many things. And what is really, really amazing about what we all do is that we can go back to these conversations and hold up what they said with their actions, and then ask the question if there is some incongruency there. You know what I'm saying? So
yes, it's a lot on record, and in this space, I'm definitely I'm hopeful for so much more success, but I'm also it's like that balance of being Black in America. And you were one of the first people to text me after I did my interview with Chokwe Antoine.
Yeah.
And just the and we kind of started off with this, like the attack on Black leadership here that exists in America itself. That's not a lie. You know what I'm saying?
It's not imagined. It's real. I mean, the Michigan nonprofit, let's just talk about the nonprofit sector, right? Michigan Nonprofit Association has released on more than one occasion a study on nonprofit leadership in the state and where resources are allocated to the most, right? Organizations that are led by white men get the lion's share of resources. White women, you know what I mean? Black men and women are at the bottom of that.
Yeah.
Have been at the bottom of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that may not feel, or it may not feel like a transactional kind of racist thing, but it's systematic. It's a systemic racist thing that is just inherent in how we do things in this country. And so, figuring out how to disrupt some of these systems is of the utmost importance. I think Chokwe coming on and just being forthright and talking. Like I hadn't seen an interview of Chokwe.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen anybody really sit down with him and talk to him and you know, you didn't hold back. You asked the questions that needed to be asked. And if I was sitting across from him as the journalist, I was for sure going to be asking some of those questions and go a little deeper too. But I think that's the value in platforms like this. This isn't, you know, and shout out to WDIV Local 4. I'm a regular contributor there, but this ain't no 3-minute segment. We're sitting down with these people for at least an hour.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to have an expansive conversation because the public, the citizens, the residents deserve that.
And you can dive deeper into that as, I mean, in not like so much of the offline, but it's just the realistic. I mean, when I interviewed Charlie Beckham, I mean, he said that, you know, he said that the FBI office here had like a 30,000-page dossier on Coleman Young up to the point where he was there. Like, you know, he shared, it's like
and Charlie, no.
They went to, it was a space where they had breakfast one time. The FBI bugged that restaurant for like 3 months straight, just under the chance that they would go back to that restaurant. So like when we look at this, it's like, okay,
stuff like that in the Kwame year, in the Kilpatrick years as well. Yeah.
So we have to really be mindful that the intentionality and the money, because it's like an FBI agent is not making like, you know, it ain't like they working at Taco Bell like I was back in when I was in the 9th grade. You know what I'm saying? An FBI agent that's bugging restaurants is, I'd imagine, getting well over 6 figures. And this office that has that many people that have 30,000 pages back in the day, and it wasn't no chat GPT. That means that they are typing away at this word processor. So like we have to think about the effort being put into this office, intentionality. And I mean, those offices still exist. I mean, we look at Alonzo Bates. We look at even what happened with Andre Spivey.
Yeah.
We look at and to me, I mean, Sally was happening with, and that's one of my homies, Janae. And it's almost like, I definitely think that had a direct
impact. She was
impact.
Absolved, right?
Yeah.
And that investigation is over. She ran for office again, and it you know, and was unsuccessful. But you know, her being absolved, that story was nowhere near as loud as when the investigation happened
days before. And I mean, we look at that, and then we also look at like our current mayor had a FBI case that seems to have not made any, and that's been just never continued on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think we're gonna see I think I want to admonish everybody to watch how corporate media moves moving forward in a city that is under Black leadership.
And I'm going to, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do a special Detroit is Different specifically about that. Piper always talks so much about like just having the media competency, but I'm going to specifically do something on Black leadership because it's not just Mary Sheffield. It's also my new council member, Renata, that has won. Miller's won in District 5, has already had been misquoted, and definitely recognizes like what's been imbalanced and unfair her way. So I really want to heighten some of that media competency because it'll be definitely a lot of stories as the elephant in the room that often is not uplifted about everything with Mayor Kilpatrick is that the Mayor Kilpatrick saga through the media channels of Detroit created careers for a lot of people working in media.
Pulitzer Prizes.
To the point where
deals.
To the point where
philanthropic appointment.
To the point where I think one of the best legislators ever, in his mother's passing, the foot line of the story is still through this media. Mayor Kilpatrick's mother passes. So it leads with embattled in prison.
It leads with him and not her.
And not her. And Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick was one of
beloved figure.
Like
a beloved figure.
Beloved figure, but like, I mean, her
and effective.
Her footprint lives now in a Black community for sure, but even in the communities that ended up becoming her district, like the impact of the money that she brought to that district
An appropriator, and for real, absolutely,
It's like,
absolutely.
you know, buildings, recreations, access to census, access to other employment, access to like contracts and stuff. Like, it was one of the most effective ways to work on behalf of community and getting resources into a district. And still standing tall as hell in DC as well. Like,
a force,
yeah,
a literal force.
yeah, yep.
Rest her soul. God rest her
All
soul.
day, all day. So it's like that way, that media competency, you know,
It's a real thing.
I'm gonna, you know, I love my paper, so I'm gonna get some of that stuff from Piper.
I'm sitting here with the paper now. They talk about me because I'm always showing up like with notes or taking notes and stuff. I don't care where I am. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, but it's gonna be real. That's gonna happen through Detroit is different because we have to be aware because we've already seen it roll out.
Yeah.
That bullshit about the Jeezy tickets. Come on, man. Seriously.
So now you're talking about a very specific journalist. You know, and so and you know that sort of journalistic brand. I mean, you know, and folks know who he is.
Yeah, definitely. But that was one in, like I say, it created careers. Bought some new cars, got some people in college, got some people new houses. Like that whole Kilpatrick thing, I mean, really, I want to say like the first day he got in office, starting with the earring. And from there on, it just...
man. And that reverberated nationally. I remember like there being man, I'm dating myself, some stuff about him in Jet magazine with the earring, hip hop's mayor, you know, the hip hop mayor, man. What a time.
Yep. And similar to right now, it's real cool. I mean, it's in our era, but Amazon has this 3-part documentary on Allen Iverson. And like, you know, hip hop becomes thug becomes criminal. Like it's coded language. It's a lot of dog whistling in this. Hence, that's back to that media competency.
That's why I love Ivo, man, because he wasn't for none of it. He knew who he was. Man, let me tell you, Allen Iverson had us going to school with headbands and cornrows and with the wristbands. We wanted to be Iverson so bad. He wrote a memoir. I haven't gotten it yet. I got to pick up his memoir. I don't know if it's out yet, but man, a legend. We talking about practice.
Yeah, man.
We talk about practice.
I was it was funny, another person in this journalist space. And shout out to Megan too. Me and Megan Douglas from Riverwise, we debate often, but I love Megan.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She did her birthday party was the other day. It was a 2000s party. And then Ludacris came on and I was like, and then I saw Buff with the do-rag. I was like, man, I can't even believe how often do-rags were. Boy.
Let me tell you, this is funny. I saw something on TikTok. I love what the young people do on TikTok. TikTok is so funny to me. Mm-hmm. But it was a video. It was two homies, right? So the homie who's recording is recording this other homie who has on a do-rag and a hat. And the homie recording is so confused. It's like, why are you doing... Just pick one. That's what why do you have a hat and a do-rag on? You're supposed to pick one. And I was just like, this is a sign of the times because homeboy don't know. The do-rag and the hat together was the look.
Yep.
And Ivo too.
It was it hit me.
Look.
It hit me with the that was in 2019 when we did the Detroit is Different Festival. And the Unicorns Are Real saying, we gonna do a 2000s party. And then they did the photo shoot here. And I was like, damn.
What a time.
I had some of them clothes.
Yeah, what a time.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, even, you have do-rags of every color and shit.
Man, what a time.
Yeah, do-rags. The do-rags was everywhere, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Them was the days.
Yeah, man.
I love it. So, with that, as we get to a close, I don't even know where we want to go with this. I don't know if you want to tell people to connect with Authentically Detroit, connect with Outlier Media, connect with other Orlando.
Man, listen, go to outliermedia.org. We are not neutral. We are on the side of Detroiters. It's your hyperlocal newsroom. You're going to see investigations there that nobody else is doing. You're going to see series there that reaches you right there at home. We want to hear from you. We want you to subscribe. You will not get a paywall. The news is free, but it's not free to produce. And so I got to pay people. So if you got an extra $5 that you can spare a month, $2, whatever, become a member of the Outlier Collective at whatever amount you choose. We're happy to welcome you to the community. We're happy to be welcomed in community. We do a Coffee Thursday once a month where we buy the community coffee. We pop up at a coffee shop once a month on a Thursday and talk to folks to figure out what's going on. Our editor-in-chief says Detroiters are our assignment editors. And so there is no journalistic output without Detroiters giving input. And so we want to hear from you. Outliermedia.org. Support us. Listen, I'm going to say this. There is an attack. There is an attack on free and open information and truth. The truth is incendiary to the chambers of power in this country right now. And there is an outright effort to squash it. There's an outright effort on part of oligarchs and billionaires to not have editorial pages say things that are antithetical to their agenda. Look at what's happened at the Washington Post. Local media is the last stop for truth. It is the last stop for truth, and we want to be around, but we're only going to stay around if you guys keep us around and keep supporting us. So please do that.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
so
me.
much.
Appreciate it.
Peace.
Detroit is different. Detroit is different. Culture and life we live